Rising real yield with inflation expectations anchored is the bond market telling the Fed that it does not believe that a cut is imminent, and the next move, if anything, is the other way. So let's try and understand this in terms of the cross-asset implications. First and foremost, you have the equities. The US indices made fresh highs into Thursday on AI-driven momentum and then gave back 1 to 2% as bond signals finally priced through. The disconnect between the equities beta and the rate tape has been the defining feature of post-March recovery. Friday is the first session in weeks wherein rates regime forced equities to reprice. Multiple compression risk is now asymmetric. Real yields above 2% with energy reaccelerating leaves little cushion for a momentum-led tape. When we're talking about the credit, higher real yields and a fatter term premium tighten conditions for corporates without an immediate distress signal. Herein, watch the private credit complex first. Semi-liquid BDC structures have absorbed the early stress. Floating rate book NAVs benefit at the coupon line, while the underlying credits face refinancing math that gets worse the longer real rates stay here. And then we have the FX. Dollar strength against low yielders is the path of least resistance until either the Fed signals a pause is durable or energy rolls over. The JGB yields at record highs change the trade structurally because the long USD Japan carry that has financed risk for years is now contested at the Bank of Japan end. The emerging markets crossed with energy import exposure remain the most vulnerable cohort. And then we have the commodities. Brent at above $109 is no longer a tail, it's a working assumption. The secondary effect, that's the sticky goods inflation feeding into services via the wages, is what bond markets are now discounting and what makes the Fed on-hold scenario the new base case. Let's also try and briefly understand the sovereign stress map. When we're talking about United Kingdom, we see gilt yields at multi-decade highs with political risk now compounding the fiscal arithmetic. Local election losses have escalated pressure on the Prime Minister and introduced a leadership change scenario into the rates curve. Sterling assets carry the highest discount rate at the G7 cohort right now. Moving on to Japan, the wholesale inflation surprised to the upside. JGB yields hit record territory and Bank of Japan policy normalization has moved from a debated thesis to a positioning reality. The implication for the global rates is structural out here because the largest exporter of duration to the world is becoming a buyer of its own paper at higher levels. And then we have the Eurozone. The Italian 10-year is up 11 basis points to 3.89%. Bonds are up at 3.12%. Spread behavior remains orderly, but the absolute level of the yields is now what matters for the periphery debt sustainability. Watch the BTP to bond spread for the first sign that the move is becoming credit-driven rather than rate-driven. And finally, let's discuss United States because next year's 20-year auction is the next live test of demand depth after a string of soft prints. A weak tail there would shift the conversation from real yields to term premium and put fiscal sustainability on the front page of US markets coverage for the first time since 2023. So in effect, what can be said is the signal is not duration pricing. It's the regime in which sovereign issuance is being asked to compete for capital on real yield terms, and the bid is conditional, not automatic.